time and again, these social media companies are behaving in a way that we would never allow any other company to behave. And by that, I mean, 50% of Americans get their news from Facebook. Would we allow CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite in the 60s when he was so dominant in the 70s to deliberately spread lies, channel them through Russia, or deliberately spread healthcare lies? I think the government would pull their FEC license. Why can't we pass basic regulations to make these companies be more transparent about the algorithms that spread the lies on everything from COVID to January the 6th?
We absolutely should be able to pass them. We actually have to pass them. I think these social media companies are in many ways the tobacco companies of this era. They're exploiting loopholes in the law to deeply damage America. This connects to your cancer metaphor.
Yes.
And with little to no regulation. And so we absolutely have to do it. The reason that it is hard is it is right now not in the interest of a lot of Republicans to do it. If you go to Facebook on a daily basis, the posts with the most engagement are from Ben Shapiro, Dan Bongino, Candace Owens. It is right-wing content. It dwarfs progressive content. It dwarfs mainstream media content, which is actually should be the part that scares us the most, that Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire has more followers and engagement, many times more than the New York Times or CNN. That is a problem for democracy.
So are you saying that, like, the Republican agenda is backed up by the freaks on Facebook, and so they don't want to do anything about it?
Absolutely. It is.
Just making sure.
Yes. To be very clear is that Facebook is the most powerful messaging platform for the extreme MAGA message that benefits the Republicans. They have very little. They like to cry about Facebook and big tech, and then they just laugh their way to the bank when Facebook pushes their message, including the big lie, all across, into people's cerebrums all across this country.
So let's go ahead, Rob. You can start responding to this because I love it. Again, it's beautiful when they say the quiet part out loud. It's just fucking beautiful.
I mean, the levels of nonsense here is that essentially first they're saying that when it's left to a free market, people are more interested in Republican point of view. And so we have to do something to police this, because when we let the free market just read the information that they want, we don't have control or censorship over the media, and we can't have that. That's level two. Is they currently do censor these platforms. So if anything, what they're really calling for is, hey, we need a complete democratic control over social media, because when it's left to people to just read what they find interesting, they know that we're lying to them, and we have no sway over the general public in any capacity.
Exactly right. He's going, look, the huge problem here is that Ben Shapiro is way more popular than the New York Times and CNN. Sorry, we can't have that. You go, yeah, but what's that? What's the information being conveyed there? And then his point, this is something that these progressives like to point out a lot, which is infuriating because it's such a bullshit argument, is that they go, and you kind of touched on this just now, but when they go, look, they're killing us on social media. And then they bitch about how, there's this cancel culture on social media. Like as if one disproves the other. It's like if you're running a race and somebody is from the audience is reaching out their leg and tripping you, and they're like, oh, Rob keeps complaining about being tripped, but look, he's winning the race. It's like, wait, hold on. That's not the question whether you're winning or not. The question is that guy tripping you or not? And if the guy was tripping you and you're still winning the race, then yeah, that kind of indicates you're like, dude, I'd be way out here ahead of everybody by even more if I wasn't getting tripped up. To argue that people are not disproportionately silenced and kicked off of these sites if they do not fit into the progressive orthodoxy is I don't even know what to say. I don't care to have the argument. You're just not like participating in the real world if you don't acknowledge that that's what's happening. So yes, the truth is that these sites are the progressive establishment is so unpopular, and this is the point I was making about like trying to build this consensus, which is not organic, is that they cannot sell this consensus. And they just said it right there, right? What Joe said at the beginning, the consensus, he said, well, look, we have to deal with all this misinformation on what were his two examples? COVID and January 6th. But here's the problem in a nutshell, is that you're lying about both of those things. Both of what they consider to be the correct consensus, the correct narrative, is complete bullshit. Is it COVID? You guys were wrong about everything. Every last damn thing you were wrong about. And the thing that's amazing, you've pointed this out several times on the show before, Rob, but it really is worth pointing out again because it's just so remarkable, is that even if you were to ask them, like, give me the official consensus right now on COVID, they would not have the same consensus that they had 6 months ago, a year and a half ago, all of that. Even they, without explicitly admitting it, like they may say, oh, the science has changed or something like that, but they would acknowledge that we're not saying the same thing we were saying back there. They're not even really pushing that everyone should get the 4th booster right now, because even they don't have an argument for that, like, so it's like they know this consensus falls apart, but in a very Orwellian fashion. As soon as it falls apart, you pretend that this new consensus was always the consensus. You know what I mean? It's very out of 1984. So as soon as that falls apart, it's like, yeah, no, we always knew that. You see this over and over again, like the lab leak stuff. Like, yeah, that was always a theory. We were supposed to pretend that was always something that you were allowed to say, even though it wasn't.
Or the Trump-Russia collusion. Well, we were working off the best information we had from the intelligence agencies at the time.
That's right. And they'll be just as quick to tell you next time that you have to trust the intelligence agencies. And the idea, the narrative that January 6th was this uniquely evil, democracy-threatening, attempted coup insurrection is something that you're just not selling with the vast majority of the American people. You're just not selling it.
I will say, and they did Donald Trump dirty with the whole Russia collusion thing. With that being said, I do think, I mean, the way that all this shit's playing out is not really in Trump's favor. And obviously the investigations into how the Russia collusion thing happened with the deep state is never going to be uncovered. But I do think if Donald Trump went in with zero evidence of voter fraud in any capacity, and him and his lawyers really sat down and had a conversation to go, hey, I think even if we're losing this thing, here's a way that we can win it, and we just don't have to certify election results, that if that's what they were doing, like they were really just working with zero and trying to just stay in power because they thought they could rig the system and generate press, I do think that might be worth investigating, and maybe saying that he can't run again.
Well, I mean, I certainly think that's what they're going to try to make it out to be. I'm not even taking, to be clear, I wasn't even disagreeing with that. I think it is possible. I mean, I don't fucking know. And I don't really think that Donald Trump had some grand plan of how this was all going to work together. If he did, it was the dumbest fucking plan of all time.
But how hilarious is that he didn't have a plan? That he was we're going to push conspiracy, and like without it just makes no sense.
Well, if you remember back to the phone call with the Secretary of State of Georgia that leaked, that was what I was saying was like the overwhelmingly shocking thing about it was how much he had no plan. Like he was really just like on the phone and he's like, well, we definitely won and they cheated, so I need you to uncover it. And the guy's like, sir, I see no evidence that you definitely won and they cheated. And he goes, look, we won. I know we won. So find proof. I need 600,000 votes. That's what I need. And he's like, well, how would I find 600,000 votes? And he's like, just find him. Just find, like he had no plan. So I guess I wouldn't put that past Trump. And if this was a plan, this was just the dumbest fucking plan. Like the idea that they were going to intimidate Pence into not certifying the electoral college results. I mean, there's no way it would have happened. At best, they would have intimidated him into pausing it. The cops would have cleared them all out, and then he would have certified it. Like, there's no conceivable way that this could have actually led to him going, sorry, angry mob outside. I guess Trump gets another 4 years. So if it was a plan, it was a retarded plan. And maybe they will find some evidence that there was actually a plan of this happening. And I don't know what we'd have to wait and see what they found and what the response to it should be. But that's not even my point. My point is that the media narrative is that this was the gravest threat to our way of life and to our democracy and all of this nonsense. That is demonstrably bullshit. That even if this was a plan by Donald Trump and his people that they deserve to be punished for something, if some laws were broken or something like that, it still would have been a plan that never could have actually had any impact on the United States of America. So that's my point about their narrative being complete bullshit. I think that your absolutely right that that's what this whole investigation is going to be about. And I mean, I think this is an effort. They are very concerned about Trump running again. And I think this is going to be this whole January 6th investigation is going to be about stopping that. We'll see. We'll see if they can actually do it.